Stop whatever you are doing for a second and just listen to the room you are in right now. You might think it is completely quiet, but if you really pay attention, it is not. True absolute silence has been entirely eradicated from the modern human experience. Here is the low hum of a refrigerator, the distant rumble of traffic, or the high-pitched buzz of your screen. We are constantly drowning in a baseline of artificial static. We have engineered a world that never stops vibrating, and we accept it as normal. We can no longer fathom a world without this continuous, comforting electric hum. But for 99.9% of human history, that artificial static simply did not exist. To your ancestors, the default state of the planet was an absolute crushing silence. It was a silence so deep and profound that you could hear the blood pumping through your own veins. There were no engines, no electricity, no background noise to fill the empty space. But do not make the mistake of thinking that this silence was peaceful. To a primitive human, absolute silence was never a meditative or relaxing state. It was a biological emergency, a terrifying red flag. If the wild suddenly went quiet, it meant something catastrophic was about to happen. In the ancient world, sound was not a distraction, and it was certainly not entertainment. Sound was critical survival data being constantly processed by your brain. Sound was the invisible map that ordered the chaos of the wild. A snapped twig wasn't just a random noise in the distance, it was a 3D coordinate telling you exactly how heavy an animal was and where it stood. Every rustle of leaves was a story of life and death playing out in real time. Your ears were the ultimate radar system, far superior to anything we use today. They were constantly scanning a 360-degree perimeter around your body. This radar kept you alive when your eyes could only see what was immediately in front of you. This biological radar became the only thing keeping you breathing when the sun went down. Because in the pitch black of a prehistoric night, your eyes were entirely useless. You survived the dark exclusively by listening to the breathing of the world around you. A healthy, safe forest is naturally noisy, filled with singing birds and buzzing insects. It is a continuous stream of data confirming that everything is normal. But when a forest suddenly goes completely silent, it means only one thing. An apex predator is walking through the brush, and every creature is holding its breath. Silence meant you were actively being hunted by something you could not see. In our evolutionary history, silence literally meant death. This is exactly why modern humans are deeply biologically terrified of awkward silences. When a conversation stops and a room goes dead quiet, your heart rate instantly spikes. You start to feel a creeping sense of panic that you cannot logically explain. You feel anxious not because the social interaction is failing. You feel anxious because a 50,000-year-old alarm in your DNA just went off. Your primal brain is screaming that a predator has entered the room. To escape this primal panic, we have engineered a world that is never quiet. We leave the television on when we are alone just to hear a human voice. We sleep with fans running just to fill the terrifying void of the bedroom. We even invented something called white noise machines. We literally buy artificial static to trick our brains into feeling safe. We simulate the sound of a healthy forest so our paranoid primal brains will finally let us fall asleep. When we walk outside, we immediately plug our ears with headphones. We have willingly disabled our most critical, life-saving survival sense. We have outsourced our biological radar to carefully curated playlists and podcasts. What happens when your headphones die in the middle of a crowded, noisy street? You don't just feel bored, you feel a sudden, intense rush of physical vulnerability. Without your artificial shield, you feel entirely naked to the world around you. Without our artificial noise buffering us, the raw, unfiltered sound of the real world rushes in. Our atrophied ancient brains simply do not know how to process that massive amount of raw audio data anymore. It feels less like hearing and more like being physically attacked by the environment. We are unequivocally the loudest civilization in the history of the Earth, yet, paradoxically, we are biologically the most deaf generation to ever exist. We hear absolutely everything, but we listen to absolutely nothing. We no longer know how to navigate by the low rumble of a distant river. We can no longer predict an incoming storm by the subtle rustle of the upper canopy. We have completely lost the ability to read the natural audio map of our own planet. We have actively disconnected the alarm system that kept our species alive for 3 million years. We walk blindly through the world, trapped inside isolated bubbles of curated audio. If an apex predator were walking directly behind you today, you wouldn't even know until it was too late.
Instead of bouncing off soft leaves and dirt, our sounds now violently ricochet off flat concrete and glass. The world has lost its organic audio depth and its nuanced, natural echoes. Our acoustic environment has become entirely flat, harsh, and utterly sterile.
Because we cannot handle true silence. We can never handle true solitude. We are terrified of being left alone with the unfiltered, loud thoughts in our own heads. To be truly alone in the quiet means facing the terrifying, existential void of simply existing.
But the good news is that the evolutionary hardware is still fully intact inside you. That ancient radar system is just sleeping, buried under heavy layers of digital notifications. It is waiting patiently to be turned back on.
To reclaim this ancient sense, you have to do something deeply, fundamentally uncomfortable. You have to step away from the static, and you have to willingly endure the quiet. You have to sit in the total silence and let the biological panic wash over you. When you first turn off the noise, your primal brain will immediately trigger a panic response. It will frantically scan the empty room, desperately searching for the predator that must be hiding in the silence. Let it scan, let it search, and eventually let it realize that you are completely safe. Once the biological panic finally subsides, something miraculous begins to happen. The world slowly unmutes itself, revealing layers of sound you never knew existed. The invisible audio map begins to load back into your conscious mind. You will start to hear the distance again, measuring the world not in meters, but in echoes. You will hear the wind moving through different types of trees, understanding the physical space around you without opening your eyes. You are no longer an isolated dot on a digital screen. You are an active node in a massive, living network. You will finally realize you are not the terrified prey hiding in the static. You are the apex organism uniquely designed to read the complex audio data of the Earth. Your ancestors conquered this planet by listening to it, and that identical biological hardware is still running inside your skull.
So take out the headphones, turn off the artificial hum, and step boldly into the void. Listen to the beautiful, terrifying, and profoundly revealing sound of nothing. Because the silence isn't empty, it is full of answers. You have spent the last 8 minutes listening to my voice, adding yet another layer of artificial noise to your day. But the most profound realization of your ancient biology cannot be found in a documentary or on any digital screen. So let this video end. Let your screen go dark. And for the first time in a very long time, just listen.